Hi, I'm Caroline Simpson. I'm the Group Chief Executive of the Greater Manchester Combined Authority that also includes transport for Greater Manchester and the Greater Manchester Fire and Rescue Service. Our story of growth is a really positive one in Greater Manchester. You can see the skyline of the city centre changing. It feels like a very different place. And transport has played a huge part in that decade of growth. And there's two aspects of transport. One is the infrastructure there to service a place and service its economy. And then is the transport system working effectively enough with the assets and the resources that it's got. And the decade of growth that we've had in Greater Manchester has also aligned with the decade of devolution. And the devolution of transport has been a fundamental part of our journey. With over the last 2 years, we have delivered through phases the whole of a new public transport system that is, wholly now under public control of buses, of our tram system, obviously of our highways network, and we are now moving into rail integration. In our view, it is no accident that the decade of devolution and the role that all of our work on transport has played has contributed to our growth agenda and our growth success. And then looking forward to the next decade, so in the summer, we announced the refresh of our Greater Manchester strategy that puts people absolutely at the heart of the next decade of growth. Though that is to say, we want to continue our growth story, but we want every person and every part of Greater Manchester to benefit from that growth, and transport will be a fundamental part in the role of our next decade, and that's exactly what the Greater Manchester strategy says. And there's lots of ways that we think we're going to bring that to life, and some of which have already been announced recently with the Good Growth Fund and our integrated pipeline. So our integrated pipeline is a really ambitious plan for growth to reach the whole of Greater Manchester across every borough, understanding where the big development sites are going to come forward, where town centres are going to be regenerated, how we are going to fuel our our housing growth and support our population with addressing the housing crisis by the development of thousands of new homes. And the integrated pipeline is showing where all of that growth will take place over that 10 years, although it's it'll be a perpetual pipeline if we get the momentum and it achieves its ambition. And then what we're doing is saying, well, these are the places, these are the sites, these are the priorities for growth. And that allows us then to plan all our infrastructure around those locations for growth, transport, utilities, environmental, thinking about all how we create that whole system approach to growth. And then also, how do we channel our investment capability as efficiently as possible into that integrated pipeline. And so at the same time we are developing our pipeline, we launched our Good Growth Fund, which is the first £1 billion that we are putting into our pipeline from the public sector, that we are already looking to increase, and that again becomes our kind of investment pipeline for how we're going to deliver our growth pipeline. The whole concept of the pipeline is, one, it's really clear in our vision. There is political alignment to where all of that growth will take place, and it's got a long-term plan. So when you've got that long-term plan, it enables not only the public sector to plan our investment in terms of transport and other infrastructure, but it gives private investors and private developers confidence that we know what is important and we're going to be there for the long term. We're putting all our investment aligned to delivering these priorities, and that to some extent de-risks from a private investment that gives developers, investors, companies that are looking to grow here the confidence that this is the place to be, because we've got that long-term vision. We're building on a decade of delivery and track record of delivery that's already got momentum, and this is about taking it forward to the next level even more investment and reaching out into the whole of Greater Manchester. If you go back to the principle of transport has two dimensions in a place, actually having the infrastructure to be able to get from A to B, but then how people can travel on that infrastructure, whether it's the roads or the tram or the rail or buses. And I think what's really exciting about Greater Manchester and the B network is we are gathering together all the levers to pull to make sure our transport operations not only works as efficiently as it possibly can, multimodal, so you're making best use of every bit of infrastructure that we have, but actually by all being under public control, we can pull the right levers at the right place to service our vision and the plan and the long-term plan. And if that long-term plan is about supporting our economy, but really fundamentally allowing our people and our residents to live their best lives, then we need to think about how our transport network services that. So for example, we have moved from a bus franchising model where services were commercial. They were at the behest of a bus operator who was looking to make money. No criticism of the operators, we work really closely with them now. But under a franchise model, we get the ability to really say these are the services that are needed by our population and our economy, and therefore this is what we want you to do in terms of routes and service patterns. So the really exciting part of our work under the B network is only really getting started, and that's about using all of those levers that we now have to make sure the transport network works as effectively as it possibly can. But if we can increase patronage, keep our low fare culture that really does address some of our wider issues of equality and really giving access to every resident, if we can keep those principles, grow patronage on the current network and get the service patterns working more effectively for our residents and businesses, that's the opportunity for the next few years. If we can provide regular, affordable bus services for more of our residents to help keep them socially active, ability to be economically active, that is a fundamental change, giving access to getting from A to B or getting to a job. And the Hour Pass is a really good example of where it's had a really big impact on young people who have a free bus pass, 16 to 18, funded out of the Mayor's precept. That allows young people to travel to education, to work, to social activities in a way that they might not be able to if they were paying the full fare. So the ability for a public transport network to directly impact people's lives positively is really tangible, and it's there. So we've already got a really strong development forum here in Greater Manchester where we engage regularly with our development and our investment industry, and we reach globally through the International Property Summit every year in Mepham. So we've got an open, absolutely open environment for anybody who wants to come and invest in our city region. And hopefully when people knock on our door, we're really welcoming, we're really clear on what we want, and if we've got aligned values, and it is only if we've got aligned values, we really want to work closely. So from that perspective, it's completely open door. We want to hear from as many people as possible if they're prepared to back and invest in our place and they care about it like we do. From a transport industry perspective, well, we've got a number of operator relationships at the moment through the various models of franchising, whether it be bus, through our Metrolink operations, and increasingly with the train operators as we move into rail integration. So we're continuously evolving our relationship with operators, and then there's the whole pipeline of supply chain that sits behind that. And then, of course, there's a development of new infrastructure that nobody in the country has got enough money to pay for, not least of which the state. So we are also looking at new ways in which we can fund infrastructure on the back of big growth. So if you know growth is coming in an area, but you need to do some big upfront investment, how can we think about kind of capturing that future growth and upfront investment? So we're at the forefront of some of those models that are being thought about at a national level at the moment, and we're definitely up for piloting new approaches here in GM. Our Good Growth Investment Fund, our £1 billion fund that was announced a week or so ago, includes 300 million from Greater Manchester Pension Fund. So the changes that the government are making at the moment, we are evidencing can happen here in GM. So part of that £1 billion fund is pension funds, and already since that announcement we've had a number of approaches from institutional investors to say, well, you know, with that long-term approach, with the integrated approach, with the alignment that we are bringing through our pipeline, that gives opportunity for more people to come in, more big backers to back the long-term growth of Greater Manchester. So that part of how we open the door really for anybody, again, aligned values, long-term commitment, we want to talk to them. Net zero is massively important. We've got our ambition to be a net zero city region by 2038, and transport is one of the three big culprits in terms of emissions. So we've already done great strides. I think we're coming up to 25% of our bus network are zero emission buses with new ZEBs on order. We want to double that in the next year or so. Any opportunity we are taking. I don't think UK manufacturers of zero emission buses are matching our pace and for other areas of franchising. So, you know, we really do need to start investing in our own capability to build that supply chain. Obviously, Metrolink is already sustainable, and we've got big energy contracts that are, again, helping us to use as much renewable energy as possible. Our work around electric charging points and supporting people to move electric in terms of vehicles, and the whole switch from cars to public transport is, you know, a major endeavour, not only in terms of net zero, but also in terms of safety and a whole range of other factors that come with that, not least of which a bigger patronised bus network that allows us to do more with it. It's really hard actually to keep that resilience. Our transport network is busting and creaking at the seams every day because we've got underinvested transport infrastructure, particularly in the rail network. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy. It's a massive challenge and it's a continual worry. We've got to do more collective investment to make sure we are future-proofed. But being resilient is much more about a city region resilience. We've got a broader plan for resilience, of which the transport network is just one aspect, but it is a particular concern and obviously something that we work through every single day on the transport. It is 24/7, 365 days a year. Got to be a win-win for the UK. So Manchester's growth and Greater Manchester's growth is growth for the UK, and it's got to be an and with the capital. But we have to, as a country, if we're going to optimise our economic potential, close that productivity gap, and that's what we intend to do more of, and obviously close it further in the next decade. Manchester already punches above its weight in life sciences, in tech, in creative industries, in green energy, in advanced manufacturing, and all of those sectors we see are vital for our future as well. And we think we can be a big global competitor in terms of our economy for the next 10 years. Stockport's a good example of where transport-led regeneration has happened, and it's evidenced that if you go to a well-connected place and make it even better connected, but in an, again from an environmental sustainability point of view, build new homes, large numbers of new homes around transport nodes, it makes sense because actually that allows people to use the transport network. It's a good, efficient use of space. It's generally around town centres. If you think about where our transport networks were built from when they were originally built hundreds of years ago. So I think that whole sense of transport-led regeneration and really making the most of that connectivity is something that is being thought about across the rest of Greater Manchester. So I think a really important part of our transport whole network is active travel, and really again it speaks to hitting a number of objectives in our strategy. So whether it's use of footpaths for social and just keeping people socially connected and getting out and about and keeping people fit and healthy, or how people use the active travel network as an alternative to either getting in the car or using our public transport network. So balancing how we continue to develop really safe, attractive active travel options alongside our investment in public transport and management of the highway network is really important. And it's not easy because there are tensions around how the infrastructure is used, how much space in the road can be taken up for active travel. But that's something that we are facing into in Greater Manchester, and we think there is a balance there whereby we do want active choices for people to make that allow them to walk or cycle alongside all our other investment. So devolution's fundamental. It's been a really important part of our journey so far, and it will continue to be so. I mean, the fact we've generated the £1 billion investment fund through a range of devolved funding pots is evidence again of how that flexibility allows us to use it to best effect in our place. So because we've got single pots of resources, we don't have pots of money that are there to do specific things. So that gives us the flexibility to balance our priorities and manage our investment more efficiently and align it better to our priorities. So that is one of the big benefits of devolution.